Hey, you guys. Hello. Good morning. Good afternoon. And welcome to day three of 90 Days Through the Word. My name is Sonia McCullough Lockridge, and I am your host. And I guess I forgot to put on earrings. I'm not one of those that actually stands on formality, but since we're here, I might as well wear earrings. So, today is day 3 of 90 Days Through the Word. And I have read through the Word. I read through it this morning. I started reading at 6:16, and I concluded my reading at 7:44. 16 and 7:44. And today, instead of writing in my journal, I just wrote in a regular composition book. Which, if you do not have a journal or you're unable to print the free journal, a regular composition book will work just fine. You can use one that I use, similar to the one I use here. It's 70 pages. And of course, we're reading for 90 days, so you could use the front and the backs. About 2 years ago, I started recording all of my thoughts and wonders and things in a composition book for each month, and that has really benefited me in keeping up with my thoughts. Now, today we read through Genesis 40:11. Today we read through Genesis 40:11, and it is Monday, July 3rd. Now, I'm just going to review some of what we read, and I mentioned this before, but I haven't done it for the last 2 days, but I did it today. Today we are noting a word and a particular Bible verse. Now, the verse that I want to note today is Genesis 30:14, which reads, "This stone, which I have set up as a pillar, will be God's house, and of all that you give me, I will surely give a tenth to you." This is the first church in the Bible. Bethel, which is where this is the first church that is located in the text, the house of God. Bethel means the house of God. Our noted word is mandrakes. And let's see what else I noted. In 29:11, I noted Jacob kissed Rachel. Jacob, Rebekah's son, kissed Rachel. Laban is Rebekah's brother, Jacob's uncle. Verse 16, I noticed Leah enters the scene in verse 16. And Rachel, the text says Rachel is beautiful of form and face. And then verse 20, there's a 7-year plot. A 7-year plot in verse 20. Because Laban knew that it was the tradition of his clan to marry the first daughter off first. He knew this. He just failed to share that information. He just failed to share that with Jacob. In verse 31, we have another barren bride in the text. Another barren bride. Rachel was barren. Rebekah was barren. Sarah was barren. Now, I know that we live in a time when it is difficult for many women to conceive and carry to term. So, this is nothing new. This is recorded right here in the first book of the Holy Word of God. Barren brides. Sarah, Rebekah, Rachel, barren. Chapter 30. Jacob and his wives and maids. I kind of put in parentheses, all my children. Rachel finally conceives because God remembered Rachel. She finally conceives, and she has a son whom we will get to know very well, and his name is Joseph. Jacob prospers through his learned knowledge of herding, and through the help of the Lord, Jacob prospers in the herding. I'm sorry, fumbling with my clothing and such, and I shouldn't be doing that. Chapter 31. The Lord sent Jacob back to his relatives. The Lord sent Jacob home after 20 years of being with Laban. The Lord sends Jacob back home. And before they can leave Laban's property, Rachel steals some of the cherished possessions. And if I had to put words to this, I would say a friendly force. And the verse that we often hear people mention, may the Lord watch between you and me, is here in 31:49. 31:49. Now, chapter 32. Jacob's been away from home for 20 years, and Jacob fears his brother Esau because if you remember, Jacob stole his brother's birthright. Okay, if you remember. And he left home afraid that Esau was going to do something to him. Jacob wrestles with God and gets this little hip condition. And then chapter 33, Jacob and Esau reunite. Esau is also referred to as Edom. in the text. Now, the Lord causes both of these brothers to prosper in their own right. Jacob and Esau, they both prosper. Esau is known as Edom, and Jacob will later be known as Israel, if not already. I'm not sure if I read that today or not. So, in chapter 34, Diana, the sister, is defiled. When they move into this hill country, they run into some folks who are not like them, and this guy falls for Diana, and he defiles her. He does not wait for wedding or marriage or wifery or what have you, but he defiles her. And then the brothers come up with a scheme to encourage these folks to be circumcised like they are. And they conned them into all being circumcised. And then once they were all circumcised, after 3 days, they attacked this particular clan. Chapter 35. Jacob moves to Bethel, the place that has been an altar for him, the place that is the house of God for him. And Rachel dies in childbirth while she's having her final son, Benjamin. She dies in childbirth. And after Jacob moves home, Isaac dies as well. Chapter 36, I don't know why I keep saying verse, but chapter 36. Esau and his family move away from Jacob. And Esau, get this, is the father of the Edomites because he's known as Edom also. And so he is the father of the Edomites. He is actually the chief of the Edomites. Just put that in your cap. He's one of the ites. He married outside of the Lord's wishes, and he became one of the ites. Chapter 37. Joseph is sold. Joseph is ultimately sold to Potiphar. Now the brothers plot and plan against Joseph because of him and his dreams and this special coat that his that his daddy made, and they ended up selling him to some folks who sold him eventually to Potiphar. Chapter 38. The temple prostitute Tamar has twins. The temple prostitute Tamar has twins. Now, Tamar is not actually a prostitute, but she presents herself as a prostitute to Judah because Judah, through his scheming, does not allow Tamar to be married to his youngest son, as was the custom in biblical times. Now, in chapter 38, this is where the scarlet thread is introduced into the text. This is where the scarlet thread is introduced into the Holy Word of God, and we can trace this thread throughout the entirety of both the Old and the New Testaments. Chapter 39. There's some false accusations. There's a bunch of false accusations against Joseph because Potiphar's wife was interested in having a little liaison with Joseph because he was nice in form, but Joseph was committed to Potiphar and knew the position that he held in Potiphar's household was honored. But Potiphar's wife convinced Potiphar that Joseph had wronged them, and Joseph ends up in jail after these false accusations. He ends up in prison. Now, chapter 40. The chief cupbearer and the baker have a dream in the beginning of chapter 40. And this is where our reading review ends today. Tomorrow, we begin our reading in chapter 40, verse 12. Chapter 40, verse 12. I would love for you to join us this summer in the reading of the Word, 90 days through the Word, the Can Do Challenge. I would just love for you to join us. You still have time. We're only 40 chapters into the book of Genesis. And remember, it's a somewhat known fact that the entirety of the Word of God can be read in 75 to 80 hours by the average reader. Now, apparently, I'm no longer the average reader because it takes me about an hour and 15 minutes to read every day. Now, I will warn you, when you start to read the Word of the Lord on a regular basis, sleepiness will become a thing in your life. And you will have to fight sleepiness, which is likely why many believers and Christians love coffee. This is Sonia signing out for the Bible Study Studio. Thank you and have a blessed day in the Lord. And please subscribe. Please subscribe so you know each and every day I upload a video in regards to 90 days through the Word. Thank you.